Join palms, bow. Four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Okay, good evening to you all. It's August 23rd, 2021. And I wanted to continue on with some of the elements of a proper meditation and highlighting them and why they're so important. When we meditate, we have to have a continuous practice. Now, this is one that is probably the easiest to understand, but the hardest to do. When we are practicing, it is said that it is one thought for 10,000 years. Why is that? Because in the present moment, we just simply focused on the thought of that moment. If we're in meditation, then it's simply meditation. And if it's something else, we're just simply jumping from one thing to another. But this thought that we have does not produce an unwholesome thought. We have learned from Master Huineng that we can have thousands of thoughts a day, yet we don't really have thoughts. We're engaged in what's called wu nian, meaning no thought. But when we talk about no thought, we really are not clear about that. We think no thought is to make the mind blank. But quite to the contrary, making the mind blank would be useless. So if they'd say, Gilbert, call your next witness, I'm in wu nian. It wouldn't work, right? And somebody's asking you a question, it wouldn't work. So wu nian is not the no thought of simply a lack of existence. It isn't that way. And if we try to be that way, this nihilistic way, it would not be right. But on the other hand, we come to recognize that this, although there is not a lack of existence, there is not necessarily an existence to the things that we manufacture in mind. And what do we manufacture in mind? What we manufacture in mind oftentimes is very unwholesome. That is the ego, something that is judging the environment, making an opinion on the environment, making an opinion based on how it relates to the ego. Of course, our world is messed up. Think about that. If we had less ego, would we have the problems that we have right now? No, I will not put on a mask. That's against my freedom. But this doesn't really make any sense in the context of this world at this moment. This is not barring you from free speech. It's something that's practical. We have to see the world in this way. No, we take a vaccine, not for us, but just for other people. I talk about that because there's people that I know that right now, one of them is on his deathbed because he chose not to take a vaccine. Of course, now he is wondering, I don't think he can even do that. I think he's in a coma now. He's, you know, he would have wished he had taken it, but it's too late. We have to see things, but sometimes the world is built with this ego, When we practice and our practice is continuous, we use the mind in the right way. Thoughts come and go, wunyan, meaning that they're not sticking to the mind. Mental impressions do not stick there. Mental states do not stick there. Things from greed, hatred, and ignorance, from desire, all of these things are not sticking to the mind. Why? Because they naturally do not belong to the mind as the mind itself. This is difficult for us on this side because we have not yet reached a transcendence or an awakening that we see the world as an illusion. We see the world as a product of the ego. And yet with that, it's mind. This very mind that you're listening to me right now is the Buddha mind. But we separate things when we try to study. We want to study to become enlightened. But all we can do is study in a way that we become better citizens. Because we are trying to comport all of the practices that we have and try to make this ego abide by it. And when we do that, we follow the 3 jewels, avoid the 3 poisons. We take the 4 vows, the 5 precepts, the 6 paramitas, the 37 factors of enlightenment. And then we wonder why we don't get there. What is it that we're missing? And what you're missing is the very essence of the practice. The very essence of continually staying in the present moment, being aware, knowing that moment to moment to moment, just this mind, and even all of the defilements in mind are not other than mind itself. We become ignorant as to how the mind functions, how it works, what are the rules. And yet we want to get there, become enlightened, remove our suffering, as if it's something that belongs to samsara. This is a foolish practice. It will not get you there. You cannot practice as samsaric being and make it through to transcend. What is going to go through? What goes on to the next part? It is why all of the ancient masters implored just this mind, just right now. This is what's there. There's no reason to have anything else, to seek anything else. Because we already have it. All we have to do is practice continuously. I know that many of you have been in a car driving late at night, and you're trying to stay awake. This is not something that's uncommon. And you're trying to stay awake and the road is dark. And what do? You turn up the radio. You may call somebody on the phone, roll down the windows. Up north in wintertime, that might be a death sentence in 30 seconds, but at least it'll get your attention. And you try to stay awake. You try to stay on the right side of the line. And you keep your eyes open. you're aware. You dare not sleep. If you go to sleep, you may hit a tree and die. And then why not see the imperativeness of the present moment and the continuous of the practice? Because this too is a matter of life and death. It's a matter that if we do not stay with the method, we do not stay with our practice, we will surely perish and perish and perish and perish again. It is just the way it is. But if this moment we can bring the light of the mind here and keep it and keep it and keep it and keep it, our drowsiness will go away. Our drowsiness is induced by greed, hatred, ignorance, the clouding of the mind. And this clouding of the mind makes us dull, not clear at all. Oh, sometimes we think we're very, very clever. We can do things and we can see things. But if our morals are not there, we don't even know what we're doing. In the trial that I just finished, there was a man on the other side. To say that he created with facts would be understatement. And he was testifying that his son had, and I represented the son, his son had dropped off a bag of documents at his house on the doorstep. And there was a notarial book inside. And when I asked him about it, I'd said, well, what was in the bag? I said, you said there was a notarial book. And he says, yes. And I said, this is what you put in your answer. And what was in the bag? And he said, I don't know. I never opened the bag. He could not, it didn't make any sense what he said, because he could not even remember a lie he told 30 seconds before, that he had looked in the bag. Otherwise, you know, there was a notarial book in the bag. Didn't make any sense. But you know, he didn't even realize he was lying. He didn't realize. There were so many times when he lied like that, and it became almost his nature, a nature to lie. Now, this is from ego, most certainly. And but my point is with this is how easy we can move away from even the apparent truth of a moment, all for the sake of preserving the ego. We see things from this way. And in our practice and in our ego, we form the desire to transcend this world. But the true practice is not necessarily transcending the world, because where are you going to go? Everywhere you look is mind. It's just a bit of a distortion that's there that we call this place samsara, but it's a dream. If we can maintain the clarity of the mind continuously, something very interesting happens. What happens is that the mind becomes clearer and clearer and farther away from mental states and mental impressions. We think these mental states and impressions are us and what's happening to us and our environment. But it is just simply dreams within this environment. When one has come to the gnosis of this realization, this world does not disappear. It is just simply seen as it is, a simple reflection and echoing in mind itself. And in so, then as we develop bodhicitta, we understand why we're here, to help others, to deliver other people. It's not just us. And we should not think in this way that we want to deliver ourselves. From where are you going to deliver yourself? I just saw a program on YouTube about the Buddha's life. And there was a lot of things that were correct, and there was a lot of things that were a bit off. And especially when they were talking about nirvana and what nirvana is. And some of the people said that was kind of a means to an end to reach this nirvana. And where is this nirvana? It is not a place. It is just simply the realization of as how mind works, and with a sincere development of bodhicitta, the interest in the suffering of others. Now we know the others, they don't exist. Don't tell too many people, they'll get scared. But we nevertheless have an interest in that because it's part of the Buddha body. We present and perpetuate the Dharma for the generations to come. And we link together to form a bond with others of like kind, to strengthen each other and to move this forward. This is the noble mind. This is what we do. In order to do that, we must maintain a continuity in mind, whether we're sitting on a cushion or we're moving around in the environment. As the Heart Sutra says, coursing the prajnaparamita. As I've said many times, we look, where is this prajnaparamita? It must be somewhere out there. It's right at the tip of your nose. Everything is the deep prajnaparamita. Everything is a presentation of mind itself, a reflection that's happening. It is hard for us to understand this. And as a result, it is very difficult for us to practice in the proper way. If we practice in the proper way, our practice will improve. It's not just us as a citizen of the world or a sentient being of the galaxy or the universe. Our Buddha mind practice will improve. We begin to awaken. Awakening is simply understanding that this body does not belong to me per se. In the apparent world, I use it, but it is not where mind is housed. It is not where the Buddha was created. We did not create the Buddha in our mind. It doesn't make sense. The Buddha came and figured out what was the matter. What was it? Why did people suffer? And he really sincerely wanted to find out the answer, telling us that you would think that we would be able to instantly become awakened. But it doesn't work that way. He gave us the methods onto how to practice, but he cannot practice for us. There was a story of the Buddha, and there was this man that would go to the Jetta Grove to listen to him lecture. And when he would lecture, the man would sit in the back and watch and see what was going on. And then one day he went to the Buddha and he said that, you know, I've been watching you and I've been watching your students, and some of your students, they excel, they get it. And others, they come for a little while, they listen, and then they leave, or it doesn't seem to have too much of an impact on them. And why is that so? If your teachings are impeccable, then why shouldn't everyone benefit from your teachings? Makes sense, right? The Buddha's laying out the stuff, but he wasn't laying out doctrine per se. He was laying out how to practice. So the Buddha asked the man where he was from, and he said he was from a village, and not too far from there. And then the Buddha asked him, how do you get here from your village? And so he would say, well, you go through, we're in a valley, and you go through a pass, and you come down this way, you follow this river, and then when you get to this peak, then you're here. And so then the Buddha asked him, tell me, if I was going to wish myself to your village, could I do that? And he said, of course not. You would have to walk to my village in order to get there. You cannot just simply say, I'm here. And then the Buddha said, precisely. It is with the practice that one must follow the path sincerely, continuously, and they will receive some form of a benefit. But those who simply listen to the lecture and do not follow the path, then to them, their improvement will be much less. So the Buddha was talking about this. This is not something Gilbert made up. The Buddha was talking about that you need to stay on this path. Every moment presents you a moment to practice. There's sometimes I'm on my phone and I'm doing something, and then I look at what I wrote and I went, this is not wholesome, what I'm writing. Even though it's the truth, in this moment, it's not wholesome. I delete it. And little by little, I found myself deleting more and more of what I write, kind of an inside editing of things in order to harmonize with people, in order to not be too sharp of a blade. When we do things, we let the truth evidence itself, but we're very careful. Don't put that finger up. Don't be a judge of the world. Don't judge this person. They're going to judge you. So you're careful. This is continuous practice. Now, I can't say I'm continuous all the time. Oh, I only wish I could. Really, I wish. But it comes with time. I can say I'm much better now than when I was 20 years old and the certified judge of the world. I didn't even like kids at that time. You know, if I saw a kid, oh my gosh. Well, I can't say I didn't like kids. If you put a little salt and butter on them, they're not too bad. But it's a joke, okay? Bad joke. Erase it. But in any case, it has to be continuous. You see, I still make mistakes in what I do. And then you just go, okay, in the future, I learn from this and I will continue to practice. And the more you practice, different things happen. One, people listen to you. And two, you listen as well. And I can't say you listen to yourself. You stop listening to yourself. You listen to mind. It's a difference. And as you do that, what you want to do is interact with people from the viewpoint of mind, not from the viewpoint of ego. You don't go somewhere and just by the sake of what you've done, command respect or to do anything like that. One of the things I noticed of Shifu when he was at the UN, and they had all the people there, all the religious leaders that were there, and Shifu was quite a prestigious leader and had quite a following at that time. But if you look at the UN pictures of him, you'll see him way in the back. He didn't want to crowd in there. He didn't want to, push somebody's hat out of the way or whatever, or have to be able to sit in a chair or look prestigious. He was just in the back, just smiling. There was no need for that. When he talked to the Dalai Lama and they had a meeting of the minds at Roselands in New York, one of the things he said was very interesting. He said that the Tibetan school was the younger brother, but he was surprised at how this younger brother exceeded the older brother, Chan. And you could hear in the crowd people like stunned, going, "No, Shifu, no, don't say that." But the Dalai Lama was beside himself by such a display of humility. I mean, it was such an incredible display. The Dalai Lama, he just went like this. Like, no, no, no. He didn't know what to say. But Shifu didn't say that to one-up him by this display of humility. The display of humility was so sincere that it had an incredible impact, except for those that had the idea of one versus the other. It's very amazing. But that comes with the practice. It comes with the continuity of the practice. This is very important. The more we practice, the more we are aware in the present moment. Then we become wiser and wiser. This is continuity of mind. When we practice, we are mindful of what the ancients said. And they said, we must sever this mind that desires continuation. Very interesting, right? And you go, wow, wait a minute. You're telling me that mind has to continue. And here's these masters that are saying we must sever this mind that desires continuation. They're not talking about mind. They're talking about states of mind. And this is very important. And be careful when we talk to people. Do not confuse mental states, mental impressions for mind. Those mental states, those mental impressions belong to here. They are imaginings that happen here. What mental state would the Buddha have? What do you think? Very interesting. Do you know what mental state the Buddha has? Okay, trick Chan question. Does anybody know? I'm sorry?
Suchness.
Suchness? Anybody else? Sorry, Satham.
One that is equanimous.
And all right, an equanimity mind.
I say no mind.
A Wendy says no mind.
Mirror like mind.
I'm sorry, Young Ming.
Mirror. We have the same answer. So
Go ahead.
like a mirror.
What was that?
Like a mirror reflecting
Like a
whatever is
mirror.
happening.
So let's use your analogy like a mirror. What mental states does the Buddha have?
Same as ours.
Compassion.
He has all of them. Everything appears within the Buddha mind. I remember this one. This is a good one. And Senta, you remember that to trap people in the future. He has all of them because the Buddha is the mind. Everything manifesting, even if it's this way. That's why the ancients used to say neither sacred nor profane. Because the Buddha is not defined by this purity as defined in samsara. It transcends that kind of a purity that's there. This we must contemplate. We must bear this in mind at all times, and then it will work properly. Do not dismay, if you got it wrong. It is okay. It is because I have to keep telling you over and over again. One day it will sink in. It will be clear. Of course, there is suchness there. But what is suchness? Being aware precisely of everything that's happening in every moment, because those moments are the Buddha. Time is the Buddha outside of time, or is the time inside the Buddha? What do you think? This is an interesting one too, right? Like, let's talk about this. Do we have time? Do we have time? Does the Buddha have time? What time does the Buddha have? This is an easy one now. This is like a give me. What time does the Buddha have? Come on, Sue. I can't believe you.
Anytime.
What's that?
Anytime.
He has all the time. All the time, right? All the time. Past, present, and future is the Buddha mind. These almost sound silly, but what I'm teaching you is extremely profound. Very, very profound. This is not something that you should just idly think about because it is deep. It is deep. We practice from the other side. We practice from the side of mind. If you're practicing from the samsaric side, it's going to be very hard for you to break through. But when we practice from the mind side, it's easy. It's like a slide. You just get on, boom, you slide. Wherever you slide, there's mind. And whether it's climbing up or sliding down or whatever it is, falling or being victorious or whatever, it's all connected. Everything's all connected by Pratika Samappada. So we use Pratika Samappada, causes and conditions never fail, in our practice all the time. We practice in a way in which we are aware of how mind works. We are aware that this mind creates everything. In this mind is housed everything. It is why I'm always telling you why the Dipankara Buddha was able to predict that the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, would become a Buddha in another few lifetimes, because it was clear. Why? Because he had the Buddha mind all the time. So you have to tune into the Buddha mind station, which is Buddha all the time, right? You want to listen to oldies, you can listen to the oldie station. You want to listen to the new stuff, then you listen to that. But the Buddha one is on all the time, and it has all the time. And so as you begin to practice in this way, in a continuous way, one is no longer in a way in which we are just simply in a particular time period. We see things. Recently, I've taken up something that I used to do when I was younger, which was working with bonsai plants. And the bonsai plants are very interesting to work with because you cannot see them in this time period. You only set into motion what they will look like in 5 years, 10 years, or perhaps after you pass away. But you work on it with the idea and the patience to see what may come. But what may come is necessary to take steps in this present moment to make them what they should look like later. So it's interesting because this is the way that we should practice, and we should see the environment that we're in and want to improve it. And we look around and go, what do we need here? No. And so then you begin to put it in what is necessary to improve the environment. If you come into a hostile environment, hostility will not make it better. Understanding will, patience will, and it produces into other people perhaps a sense of shame, a sense of change in them. But you are patient in how you do things. Likewise, in our regular practice, we must be patient with this continuity of the practice. It's not going to happen all at once. This chain of mind will keep breaking, but we just keep going and putting it back together again, and see that if we can keep this chain together, the longer it will stay together. There'll be times when it breaks down, but you have to be there ready to mend it, ready to go forward, and not wallow in the misery that you fail. You're not failing in doing this. With Shifu, he said that a person with a vow to break is a practitioner. A person without a vow to break is a non-practitioner. So at least you have a vow. You're a practitioner, and that's important. So he didn't say a person that never breaks their vows is a bodhisattva. He's saying a person with a vow to break is a bodhisattva. And this is how we look at it, because we know that if we keep practicing sincerely, we don't give up our practice. Sometimes I see people, and they see me, and I'm not talking about anybody in this group, okay? I'm just talking about people that don't practice too often, and they're afraid I'm going to say, and how many times do you practice? Have you said your vows today? Buddha's watching you right now. And how do you know Buddha's watching you, Robert?
I don't know.
He's watching all the time.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I'm kind of saying Buddha like somebody up above or whatever, but it's just the Buddha mind is aware all the time. Remember that. We use that strength to practice. We use that strength. We use that ability to keep ourselves in the present moment, keeping on task, watching what we're doing. Is it wholesome or unwholesome what we're doing? Are we talking silly, or are we talking in a proper way? Will it produce a benefit in what we're doing, or will it cause a diversion and disharmony to the rest of the people around us? We have to be aware of that. We have to see clearly that just this mind is the Buddha mind, just this mind that we're using, continuously coming back to it. And then in this way, we're clear that which way to step next. And it does become clear. The more that you practice, the clearer the path will be. And you go, well, where's the path? Is it some kind of a line that we follow? No, it is not a line that we follow. It is just this present moment. And the path is found in your decision through body, speech, and mind as to what to do next. Do I keep this thought? Do I abandon the thought? Is this thought necessary? Is this thought unnecessary? Am I dragging around unwholesome thoughts? And then we just take them off. All we do is, the way we take them off is present ourselves in the present moment without any clinging. And all of these thoughts that we have, they'll be taken off of us. There was an old poem, The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I don't remember who the poet was, but it was a very incredible poem. Anybody heard of that poem before? The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner? No, nobody? Santa? Okay. It's a very interesting one, Lewis. Okay. One, because it's a poem of a sailor, and there was these birds, and they were very revered by the sailors at sea, called albatross, and the people, they were said to be very, very good, because the omen is that if you saw an albatross, you'd know you're near land. And so all of the sailors would always welcome them, except one sailor. He saw one flying, and he shot him and killed the albatross. And they hung the albatross around his neck. And from that point on, he had to carry this rotting, stinking bird with him. And it is an analogy for us carrying all of our transgressions from before with us. And those transgressions affect us in the present moment. Sometimes we're painted with this, of failures of work, failures in school, failures in social relationships, whether it's our children, our parents, our spouses, girlfriends, friends. And then we carry all of these things, and we carry these regrets, and they affect us. It can even affect our dreams. They're so strong. All of these types of things that we carry with us, such unwholesome thoughts. But our practice is truly great, because our practice enables us in this very moment to cast off that albatross and begin anew. In this moment, to begin anew and say, I will keep going. But it has to be continuous. If it's continuous, it'll work. If not, we just step back, put the albatross on, and there we go again. and we carrying all of this karmic litter with us. Of
Gilbert,
course, yes.
could you talk about this some more? So there's a difference between regret and remorse, maybe. So knowing that you did something wrong, making a correction versus carrying that regret. It is so important. Could you please say some more about this and how important is to the practice?
You will be a great teacher. Well, I'm not saying that because that's exactly where I was going. So your heart beats with mine. The whole idea with this in terms of what we do and how we can turn around to have a good practice is one that check my time. There was a story that I was once practicing with one Qigong master. He was a Buddhist Qigong master, and I was talking to one of his friends that was a Buddhist Qigong master, and we were talking about this subject, and the master came by. It was a large room, so he wasn't privy to what we were talking about, but he came by and just said that in order to put new wine in a barrel, you must first clean the old barrel. And this is very, very important because what he was saying is apropos. What Senta's saying is apropos. When we cast off this albatross, how we do that is through a shame and repentance, where we see things and we develop a remorse for what we did. We develop a feeling of the harm that we did to others before we even get to ourselves. We see our harsh words, our harsh conduct, our failures, unfailing to help people. When we carry all this stuff with us, and as a result, it colors what we're going to do next. So without this shame and repentance practice, even though we put new wine in, the wine is tainted by what has gone on before. So it is not simply the act of just taking off the albatross and saying, okay, what more bad conduct can I do? Is an examination that all of this has been fed by the ego. All of this has been fed by unwholesome thoughts. And these unwholesome thoughts are such that when we see them, we develop a shame, or we should develop a shame. If we do that, it would be somebody that would be very pitiable, that couldn't explore what they've done in this lifetime and the harms they've done, and not be shameful for what they did. But this gives us this clean barrel to carry forward. And like Senta always picked up from me, it's just rinse and repeat. Whenever you need to do that, you do it over and over again. And you are guiding yourself with this, but this is continuity. Again, we choose in any given moment to practice in the right way. When we do that, we are lifted from all of these things. But in order to keep it that way, it's like you have to continue to practice in a wholesome and clean way. This is not rocket scientist. This is what your dentist tells you every time you go in to see him. You have to brush every day. No, you're not brushing. No. And you're going, I know, but that's the way it is. But this is simple. This is continuous. This is what we do. When we sit to practice and we meditate and we're continuous with it, we just get taken off We get taken off to one side and we have to come back, boom, reset and start again. And we're pulled off this way, maybe to the past. We pull back, reset. Whatever's happening, we just come back continuously, not yanking ourselves back, not upset because we got off the method or frustrated. So many of you get so angry and the ego's going, get angry, get mad, forget about this method. We're going home, and we'll go to the beach or go somewhere. You don't need this. And the ego is so happy with that. You have to understand. No, don't listen to the ego. Listen to the Buddha. Listen to right in this moment. The Buddha is speaking to you right now. Stay there. America's Got Talent on. No, get away. You stay here. Football game. No. Have to take out the trash. No. This is right now in this moment is more important. More important. Just stay there. Stay with the method. You keep coming. And you're going to be pulled off. You come right back again. You come right back again very, very, very softly. No yanking yourself back. No wondering how long you've been off. Just come back. Home. I'm home. I'm home. Right now. The Buddha's in the present moment. And you just keep coming back. You're there. The ego's saying, I don't see anything. You must be cuckoo. What do you think? You need me. I think for you. I judge the things around you. No, present moment. Present moment. You just keep coming back. A donut? No. With jelly? No. Stay there. Stay there. Stupid. No, stay there. It's not working. Of course, it's right here. Right here. Stay. Listen to the Buddha. Listen to your own heart, the mind. You choose. You choose in this moment to stay here. Be very calm. All of these thoughts will wash. It doesn't matter. It's like the old adage. It's like water off a duck's back. All of these things, all of these mental impressions, these mental states have nothing to do with the present moment and here. Let them roll right off of you. They roll off. It is why Subhuti, the flowers from heaven, stuck to him because he still had mental states, mental impressions. Without those mental states and mental impressions, the flowers would have no place to stick to. This is very important. You just have to stay. No sticking, no sticking. You don't have to worry. There's no thing there. No, forget about that. Stay here. Stay here. What was that noise? Forget about it. It's right here. It's right here. Even this mental state that brings up emotions and fears, or then later it switches. This is so good. You're doing really good. Look at this. You're not thinking at all. No, stay there. Stay there. A flash of light. Oh, I must be getting close. Everything seems to be like flashing. No, that's just my eyes. And you're there. Whatever comes, let it go. You don't push it out. You don't push it out. Where are you going to push it to? You know that. You know that going in, this is a trick. You don't have to push anything out of mind. If you tried to push things out of mind, it's such foolishness. It's all here. Let it come. Do your worst. It doesn't matter. You're here in the present moment, calm, just sitting, continuous. I choose. Stay here, and it will work. This is how you practice. If you do not know this, then even though you will make progress, you will not make progress as quickly. But if you do this in the right way, you will find that the progress that you make will truly be incredible. You don't need the ego to tell you that. The heart will tell you. The heart will tell you that this is a good practice, a wholesome practice. So let me see if I missed anything in my notes here. One last thing before we go, and that this is when you have to understand that the 3 jewels, the 4 vows, the 5 precepts, the 6 paramitas, 37 factors of enlightenment, 8-fold path, you make your list up. Those were brought to us by the Buddha mind. They were not created in samsara, but from the heart of the Buddha. They are saying, if you practice right, all of these things will be present. The way we practice is we try to copy what those are and try to make ourselves a person that has these ideals. There is no person there to have those ideals. When we practice properly in mind, all of these things will be reflected in your practice. So remember, they come from where they come from. Of course, I'm not telling you not to practice. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that understand what this practice means, what these mean. They come from the Buddha mind, the Buddha heart. And each one isn't necessarily the element of the Buddha mind. It is just a reflection of the practice of the Bodhi heart. This is important. So when we look at it, what I want to do is get you to turn your mind's eye inward and to see from the other side that you already have the Buddha mind. You just have to keep awake. Don't cross over the line into unwholesome thoughts. Don't fall off the road. Stay with it. It will come to you. Okay? Omitofo.
Gilbert, thank you. Very, very needed. Thank you.
We always need things like this. You're welcome.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you. Any questions about what I'm talking about?
Thank you, Gilbert.
Yeah, I see a lot of you tuned in from very far away. I think I saw Ekaterina somewhere. There she is. Amitofo, good seeing you. What city are you in?
I'm actually kind of close. I'm in San Diego, but nice to see you all, Svintha and Gilbert. It's been too long.
Oh, good. Okay, you're very good to see you.
Hey,
So-
Katrina, I was just thinking of you like maybe 10 days ago.
You called me back.
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
I
for
did-
thinking of me. It's nice. It feels like home. Again.
Yes. Ekaterina was my student from very, very long time ago. And I just finished up a group of in Russian with a Russian translator and a group from Russia and Europe. So I think you probably would have enjoyed that. I don't know how good your Russian is, but it was pretty interesting class. So I'm very happy to see you. So the prodigal daughter returns. Good. Questions? No question. Oh, there's one question. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if there's a difference between Buddha mind and Buddha heart.
No, we use things in a very interesting way, and I draw upon it from what the Chinese refer to as heart mind, and which is the same thing. The mind is mind. The heart is the essence of the karuna, of the compassion of the Buddha, and this great compassion that's there. Without that compassion, the Buddha would be literally nothing, would be meaningless. It would just be something functioning out there, and people would trip and they say, oh, Buddha made you do that because of karma, but that's about it. But there's an interest, and it comes from the heart. No, not the heart, the sentimental heart, I love you, you love me, kind of a way of doing things, but it is the deep interest in resolving the suffering of other people, and this is where this comes from. And they're not two. It is ekayana, one, and without even calling it one. But it's a good question. Other questions? There should be questions. This is pretty wide open tonight. I wasn't using a lot of examples and things or deep. I wanted to speak to you literally from the heart and try to touch heart to heart, and so that you could understand. If you can get this, your practice is going to become very, very good. This continuous part of the practice is so essential. So when you have this continuity there, you break up the habitual patterns from the self. Was anybody confused about what we were talking about today?
Gilbert,
Yes.
you also talked about answering some questions from the side of the Buddha. Like if the Buddha had time, you just said that all we have to do is turn our mind inward. And once we do that, we are on the Buddha side. And so we could answer some of these questions. How can we go about turning our mind inwards? Just with the methods, or?
Your question is an excellent question, because we always talk about, turning the mind's eye inward. It is in the putting the mind in the present moment, and being aware of what is arising in mind. This is a part that's very, very important, is that we have to be aware of what is arising. When we do this, now we've turned the mind's eye inward. When we just simply look out of our eye sockets and we see the world, such as the same way as Ananda was doing when the Buddha was talking to him in the Shangama Sutra. then we don't see things clearly. We see them from the viewpoint of the ego. But when we turn it around, there's nothing that's not mine. And the mind will little by little clarify. It will expand. Or I shouldn't say expand, it will appear to expand because your resonance with mind will become closer, like a tuning fork. Boom, boom, and may not be perfect, but you're going to be able to see, hear, feel things that you normally wouldn't see, simply because the mind is so clouded by mental impressions and states. You'll be very, very surprised. Even in samsara, your ability to perceive things that are normally not perceived. But that's by turning the mind's eye inward, being aware of what's happening. As we become aware of it, not only do we become aware of what may happen in the future, but we know from where this came from and why this is happening, what that's happening. And little by little, it becomes clear. In the beginning, it's not that clear, and one can only see the possibility of what may happen in the future in a very, very short time span. But when one stays with the present moment and their mind is clear, they can see what will happen much further on down the road, and the potentialities of things that can happen, simply because they're able to obtain more information in the present moment of things that have happened in the past, things that are presently happening, and the potentiality of all of those things coming together to produce certain events that may what we would cause call conditions that appear from the causes that are coming now, and you moving the environment in a wholesome direction, in a harmonious direction, which is good. So that's turning the mind's eye inward. So it was a good question. You may still be confused, but it's okay. That confusion is healthy. It's just something that you need to just kind of contemplate. Okay. Oh, now that everybody's here, I do make an announcement that Michael got married yesterday, Michael Snowburn. So wish him. I'm so happy I remembered that, but I wanted to make sure we got everybody here, for it. So
Congrats.
yeah, so I've blessed him as much as I can to hopefully, this will be something very joyous and very productive in his life. So congratulations to you.
Thanks, Gilbert, and thanks everyone.
Okay. Any other questions? We still have time.
Gilbert, I have a question regarding the Tender asked about remorse, regret, repentance, and then what is the right way, the right path to actually to achieve the level of that the sinner and the sin are all empty? I mean,
Say the last part again. The level of what?
What is the right path, the right way to practice when you are ready to realize the sinner and the sin are all empty? It's actually the sinner and the sin are one. It is all a function of mind, so that we don't get ourselves wrong. Because also you also talk about like the sixth patriot. He asks us what is the right way to actually repent. But I think if in a common way, when we don't do it right, we could be wrong.
I think when you do it, at least you're repenting. Okay. And so little by little, as your practice reaches what's called a maturation, you will get to the point where you see there's no sin or no sin. This is just that, but it doesn't hurt to err on the side of caution and continue to do shame and repentance. And be careful, as I've said in other lectures, where all the monk, or quite a few of the monks, left when Manjushri was talking, because he was saying there is nothing like that, and they go, well, why should we practice? But we keep that because we're here in the samsaric world. But it isn't bad, because you're now lacing that in with the everyday practice, and so it's good. It's why I don't say one should not be devotional in their practice. This is very important. I'm not poo-pooing that. I don't think that that's a correct way. So I would go, well, why do you want to do that and ring bells or whatever? No, because it's still part of the practice. It's still something that's quite beneficial, and it's something that brings people together. So all of these things are very powerful, but each one has their purpose, and the shaman repentance has its purpose. And as long as you understand that, it will benefit you. More importantly, it'll benefit the people around you. Okay. Anything else? You guys are like, did I put you into a trance or what? I see you all here.
It was beautiful, Gilbert. Such a beautiful lecture. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was one, like I said, it come from the heart. And last week, I was so exhausted and didn't have a voice. I was really disappointed that I couldn't give it, but coming back to it today, I had prepared it for many days, and coming back to it, I was real pleased in terms of how it came out. I really wanted to touch your hearts and to have you understand how important, why the continuous part is important, because that's what you get when you sit to meditate. You have to be continuous with everything that you do, and it will work. So I'm happy that you were able to feel that, because that was something very, very important for me to see, and to provide to you in a way in which it will be a benefit for you and others in the future. So anything else? Michael has a question.
Yes, so like about the importance of continuous practice, and in the sense not falling back, although there's nothing but mind to fall back into. So is it a all or nothing thing? So is it like as long as the continuity is upheld, one progresses, and then when one falls back, one is back to zero? Or is there something which which is still like so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you understand what I mean.
Yeah, but you have to look at it in terms of this. Think in terms of probability balls. Probability balls are just like you have all of these balls in a container. Some of them say practice, some of them say not practice, but in the recent time, you're practicing very, very, very good. And so let's say practice is a red ball and non-practice is a black ball. At that point, then maybe you have 95 red balls and 5 black balls. And then you come off. You're not practicing. So then let's say you added 5 black balls because it was a serious drop in your practice. You still have 85, or let's say 90 red balls there. The probability is, because cause and conditions never fail, that you're going to pick it up and continue on. The longer you stay with it, the more black balls will come back in, and if you pick one out, the likelihood is that you're not going to practice. But if you pick it up the next day and you pick it, you're more likely to pick up a red ball. So you see it in this way. this is how nature works. Everything is this way. Understand it in that way. If I eat a donut tonight, the probability is I'll have one tomorrow. No. And so I was very cautious about that. And I changed over to peanut butter cookies. So I haven't had any donuts for quite a while. Although my peanut butter cookie habit has, well, it expired because I ran out of cookies. But in any case, the thing is, you see, everything is cause and effect. So don't think if the wheels come off the cart one night, it's not going to work. The more you put of the probability balls in there, and the more serious you practice, the bigger the balls get. More sincere practice. So it's not just you putting in the time there, you're actually really trying to hold it. Then after a while, you get into that state of equanimity that someone was talking about earlier, and it's a point of no return. How do you say that, Senta? I said it in kind of a way that sounds real negative. You become a non-returner.
Oh.
and so meaning that you've stabilized. And so that's good, or you become a once returner. But in any case, all that is in accordance with cause and conditions. You have to see that. If you see this in everything in your life, your wisdom will expand tremendously. Tremendously. You're not going to make the big mistakes that you do. And it doesn't hurt you to say to somebody, you know, I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. You know, I'm thinking about you. And just things like that, where you touch people and say, I know that you're alive, and no, you're in my my universe in terms of things. And it makes people feel very, very good. So, you know, that's good. Anything else?
Wendy?
Yes, thank you. My question is, maybe I'm confused. Thank you. What really touched my heart is when you said allow and everything. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. So I don't have to judge myself for the mistakes. But I always feel guilty, like I have guilt painted all over me. But repentance would make me feel more guilty. Is that confused question? Like,
well, it should. It should. If you do it right, you go, hey, I'm not, you know, I thought I was this good of a person, but I'm really, you know, judgmental or harsh or cold or non-responsive or whatever it is, you know, that you do. And then you go, yeah, that's the shame part. It's not necessarily we say, mi culpa, you know, my fault. It's that we say, I could be better. And that's the remorse of this practice, is that we develop first an idea that we could be better, and then we develop a remorse. I'm sorry I did that. And then that guides our future practice. So it's not simply like the story I said, somebody slipping an albatross on them, because a lot of people, maybe I was talking to you, but there's a lot of people that carry albatrosses around with them. You know, it can be horrible things. It could be that they've been suicidal, or they caused somebody a great grief, or whatever it is, and they carry these great problems and guilt. But it's not the guilt. It is just seeing what was there. And when we see what we did, we look at it not from our eyes, but from the eyes of the person that we caused the problem to. What did they feel when we said something to them? We insulted them, or showed them up, or hurt them in some way, or took something away from them, you know. And we don't. It isn't a matter of simply saying guilt and then putting the dead bird up over you. you see the things in a way in which you recognize it. You recognize that something that you've done in the past, so that you can comport your present actions to something that is much better. And it illuminates the present moment, so that when those things, because they're habitual patterns, when they come up in the future, you illuminate it and you choose not to do that. You choose the Buddha. You don't choose the ego. That is what we're doing. It's not about guilt. It's about introspection. This is the most important part, Wendy. Don't feel bad because of it. You have to say, in this moment, I can make it so much better. I'm now free of that. This does not define me. This is what's important. If you can do that, what wonderful liberation you can have. Truly, 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 because you've done that. And in my life, I've done many shame and repentance. I continue to do that. Probably the last time I did it was today. I'm always doing it. I'm going, oh man, I really messed up. I really feel bad about that. And so it enables you to make wise decisions in the future. And one of them is putting down the ego that says, you're such a bad person. You're a terrible person. You should just give up practice. How can you even practice if you're this way? Why shouldn't you? All the more so you should practice.
Gilbert, could I say something about that?
Go ahead.
So when you truly feel that remorse, there's a washing away. There's compassion. There's compassion for the person that you've harmed, that pathetic person you were who harmed that person, and that allows you to kind of do what you need to do to express your regret, and then that the barrel can be clean.
Yeah. So work on it, Wendy. I know you're a very good person. You have a very good bodhicitta in your heart. So here, as we practice, this is a very good practice. So, you are your worst critic. And so the judge of the world oftentimes criticizes the self. And that's why I said, even sometimes, I'm not referring to you when I say this, but it can even draw people to suicidal tendencies because the ego is so strong. And so we have to be very careful about that. Like I say, I'm not referring to you, but I was referring to these kinds of heavy feelings that we carry around that we think define us. They don't define us. The Buddha mind is. Okay.
We've got Wendy Lee.
Okay, Wendy. The Wendy's are checking in now. Go ahead, Wendy. Are you there? You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, on mute. Okay. Hi, Wendy. I was going to say to Wendy, from Wendy to Wendy. Gilbert, remember I used to have the shame. I used to just be shameful of everything. I'm like, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I heard this one, I heard that one. And I'd just be like, oh, shame, shame, shame on me. And then when you mentioned that as ego, because who's the shame on me? Rather than, so I kind of swung way over from, oh, I can do anything now because I can just ask myself for forgiveness, or I can let it go, or repent and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, whoa, you're covering up your compassion. So I swung back down to the middle of, I'm gonna feel shame, but I'm gonna learn from that shame and not do that same thing again. But I'm gonna feel shame about something else. But then I'm gonna again repent and learn from that shame again. So I don't hold on to the shames anymore. I kind of let them go as I recognize them. That's kind of what I've been trying, what I've been doing from learning. That's all.
It's all a discovery, and what you found was the middle way. You don't tighten the string too tight or too loose. It won't play music. But when you tighten it just right, the music will play. You know, sometimes you'll hear me refer to, especially when I'm writing, that this person heard the tunes that were being played on a stringless lute. Is a stringed instrument, but there's no strings on it. And it just means that it's beyond samsara, and people can listen to this wonderful tune. Master Shu Yuan talked about a tune that he played that nobody could hear, you know, and every once in a while when somebody can hear it, there's a rejoice that, somebody heard that, because it's not written in words or concepts. It's written in the expression of mind. So just keep practicing in that way. Anything else? And Paloma, you need a bigger refrigerator. You're running out of space with all your magnets.
I have too many pictures of my grandchildren. So
That's good. You're definitely blessed. So
yeah,
that's good for you. Okay. All right. Well, I guess
there is
that's
something I would like to Wendy. She knows that I think she knows that I was once practicing Tibetan Buddhism, and there is something I learned in there that I think is about the best thing. We have to realize and recognize the good things that we do and be proud of them. Not proud saying, ho, ho, how good I am, but proud or appreciative of, hey, I did this right. I was able to reach this person. I was able to get over this. And if you focus on that instead of, I'm so bad, I did this wrong, I did this, you find yourself appreciating much more and having a much more positive impact on everybody around you and yourself too. That was my 2 cents on the guilt and shame thing.
well said. Anything else? Okay. Well, I'll have to think of something for next week. So trust me, I'll come up with something. You know, I always feel like one of these people that are on these talent shows, and then I go, what do I do, you know, next? You know, and I've already done the high wire act. I've spun around, I've done this and do that. So I've got to come up with something, but that's my job. That's my function, is to come up with things that mean something to you. And maybe that's what makes me a good lecturer, is because I care about you not wasting your time when you come to a class to listen. I really care to develop you and to deliver you, and care to prepare you to deliver others. And this is very, very important. So I'm always on the lookout for the talent. I don't care if they're old or they're young or whatever. You all have very wonderful karma with me, and let's keep it that way, and deliver all sentient beings. Omitofo.
Thank you. Omitofo.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah.
Very much for your sincere talk.
Thank you very much, Gilbert.
Michael.
Congratulations, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations. Good evening, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so glad I remembered that for you.
Michael, so impressive that you joined class today.
Well, don't ask my wife whether she's happy about it or not. But she knows me. And she knows what she got into.
Well, that's good. I think that's important.
Yeah.
And just reminder, I send my deepest blessings to the two of you.
Well, she saw you before I saw you. So I sent her to your lecture when I couldn't join, and I told her, just press recording many years ago. She had no idea.
I know, very interesting, huh? All right. All you,
Thank you.
good night. Stay safe.
Bye. You too.
Vaccinate.
Yeah, thank you,
Vaccinate.
Gilbert.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.